Hello, this lesson is going to be on solving equations. The word equation comes from the word equal. So if you notice, equation comes from the word equal. And the reason why, because equations have equal sign. In fact, the equal sign is what divides the equation into two sides. So it's always good a strategy to draw a line right underneath the equal sign to remind you that you have two sides, the left and the right. The goal of solving an equation is to get the variable alone on one side of the equation. So let's see how we do that. We're going to solve this equation. Again, our goal is to get this letter x by itself, all alone on this side. Right now, it has numbers around it. So our job is to get rid of the 2 and the 1. We usually start with a number that is far away from the x. So comparing the 2 with the 1, we see that 1 is the one that is farthest away from the x. So what we're going to do is, we're going to send the 1 to the other side of the equation. And one thing that you need to remember is, whenever you send a number to another side, you need to change the signs. So please remember, if I change sides, I need to change the sign. So if I send that 1 to the other side, right now is a positive 1. When it comes over to the other side, it's going to be negative 1. So let's see what happens. The 2x is going to stay where it is, so we're just going to bring it down. And then the 1 is going to move over to the other side, so we're going to change it to negative 1. And the 3 is going to stay there, so what we're going to do, we're going to bring it down. And because the 3 is a positive, we need to write the positive sign. Okay? Remember, if a number is by itself, the positive sign doesn't need to appear. But because I put the negative 1 in front, the positive sign has to show. Alright, so now we're getting close to what we want. We want the x alone, so if you notice, we made sure to move the 1 to the other side. So right now what we're going to do is, we're going to do this operation. So on this side, we're just going to stay put and copy the 2x. But on this side, negative 1 plus 3, signs are different, so we're going to subtract. And it will be 2. And it will be positive because 3 is the biggest digit. And 3 is positive. Alright, so we're getting close to what we want. The x now only has one number in front of it. So in order to get rid of that number in front of the x, we notice that 2 is multiplying x. So in order to cancel it, we're going to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So that means we divide both sides by 2. Basically, I'm dividing by the number that is in front of the x. Alright, so now we cancel the 2, because 2x divided by 2 is 1x. But usually we say that they just cancel. And what are you left with? X. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. So here we go. Here, this is our answer for this problem. Alright, let's go on to the next problems and take a look how we do. Okay, again, please focus your attention on the equal sign. Let's draw a line. And our goal is to get the x alone on one side of the equation. So in other words, I need to get rid of that 5 and that 2. We're going to start with the one that is farthest away from the x. In this case, is the number 2. So we're going to send the number 2 to the other side. So that means the negative 5x is going to stay on this side. So we just bring it down. Put the equal sign. I'm going to move the 2 to the other side. So if I change sides, I need to change the sign of the number. So since the 2 was positive, when it moves to the other side, it will become negative 2. And the 3, because it's going to stay there, we're just going to bring it down. Bring down the negative 3. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this operation right here. So on this side, it stays the same for now. But on this side, the signs are the same. And we add, so it will be a 5. And it will be a negative because the sign is the biggest. And 3 is the biggest. Alright, we're getting closer to getting the x alone. All we need to do now is get rid of the negative 5. So at this point, we're going to divide both sides by whatever's in front of the x. What's in front of the x? The negative 5, so that means we divide both sides by the number that's in front of the x, which is negative 5. Alright, now negative 5 divided by 5, basically you're going to get 1x, but the way we usually say it is the negative cancels with the negative, the 5 cancels with the 5, and what are you left with? You're left with x. So basically, negative 5 divided by negative 5, you get 1x, and we usually don't have to write the 1x. But a better way to look at this is just when you have negative 5x, we divide by negative 5, and what happens? The negative cancels the negative, 5 cancels with the 5, and what are you left with? Just the x. Okay? On the other side, negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1, and there we go. There's our answer right there. Okay? Alright. So let's go on to the next problem, which is this guy right here. As you can see, this problem is a little bit different because instead of the x being on the left, the x is on the right. But that's no problem. Remember, our goal is to get the x alone on one side of the equation. It doesn't matter which side that is. So if the x is already on the right, it would make sense then send the 4 to the other side, and then let's get rid of the 3, and the x will be alone. So let's do that. Let's start with the 4 because 4 is the farthest one from the x. So we're going to send it to the other side. And because this is a positive 4, when it goes to the other side, it will become a negative 4. So basically, going from left to right, the 10 is not going to move, so we just bring it down. The 4 is going to go to the other side, so we're going to write negative 4. Now remember, when the 10 was alone, the positive can be invisible. But now since we're moving the negative 4 to the other side, guess what we need to show? We need to show the positive sign. Okay? Alright, so the 4 went away, and what we're going to do with the negative 3x? Bring it down. Okay? It's very common mistake the students to forget to bring down the negative. Please do not forget to do that. The negative is part of the 3. We're moving the 4 away. That means you're left with negative 3x, and you need to bring that down. Okay? Alright, very good. Here we can do these operations. Signs are different, so what we're going to do is subtract, and it's going to be positive because 10 is the biggest. And then this will be equal to, bring down the negative 3x. Alright, so our next step is to get rid of the negative 3. So when we get on this step, all you have to do is do the division sign. And whatever is next to the x, that's what you're going to divide by. We're going to divide by negative 3. And the reason why is because the negative cancels with the negative, the 3 cancels with the 3. So that means we get the x alone, and that's what we want. And then on this side, we perform the division. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Okay, so there we go. Alright, let's go on to the last problem here. Again, we want the x alone. Let's put the border down. It's always good practice to write down the border. And we're going to send the 31 to the other side. And please remember, if you change sides, you need to change the sign. So when we look at this, does the 10 needs to move? No, so we just bring it down. Does the 31 needs to move? Yes, it does. So let's send it to the other side. When I send it to the other side, what does it become? It becomes positive 31. And since 31 is at the beginning, if you don't want to write the positive sign, that's fine. Okay, so this is 31 minus 10. And then, so the 31 moved. Now and then, we're going to bring down the next term, which is 7x. Okay, and because 7x is alone, you don't have to write the positive sign. Okay. Now, if this is negative 7, you have to bring it down to negative, okay? Alright, very good. So let's do this operation. 31 minus 10 is 21. And on this side, we're just going to bring it down. Alright, next job is to get the x alone, so we're going to do division. So whenever you have that number next to the x, you know it's time to divide. And who you divide by? You just copy the number that's next to the x, and we divide both sides by that. So that way we cancel the 7, we're left with the x, and 21 divided by 7 is 3. So there we go. That's the answer for our problem. Okay, and this concludes the lesson for today on solving equations. I want to thank you for your time and have a great day.